Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. Far beyond the glow of city lights, past the clouds that cradle our weather, past even the moon's gentle orbit, there stretches a sea of stillness, a place so wide, so quiet, that it feels like time itself holds its breath. This is where dust lives, not the kind beneath beds or floating in sunbeams, but cosmic dust, ancient, patient, born from stars and scattered like whispers through the emptiness. These specks, each smaller than a grain of sand, drift through galaxies like fireflies that never burn out. They glow when touched by starlight. They remember the heat of suns that died billions of years ago. And together they make the universe shimmer. The dust is made of carbon, silicon, iron, the same elements found in our bones and blood. It's made of memory. When a star dies, it doesn't disappear. It exhales, and from that breath this dust is born. Out here, between the stars, clouds of this dust begin to gather. Not quickly, never quickly. It can take millions of years for even a single swirl to take shape, but slowly, slowly they cluster, drawn together by the soft pull of gravity, like dreamers finding each other in the dark. Imagine these clouds stretching light years across, yet so thin that you could pass through them without ever knowing. And yet, inside them, the seeds of galaxies begin to stir. The story of every galaxy begins like this, with drifting dust, with silence, with nothing in a hurry, just particles colliding softly again and again until their closeness becomes warmth. And that warmth becomes light. Inside the densest places in these clouds, pressure grows. Invisible hands press inward. The dust doesn't fight, it yields, it flows, it allows. And in its surrender, something astonishing begins to happen. Tiny centers of heat appear. They grow brighter, heavier. They are the first lights of what will one day become stars. Newborn stars wrapped in blankets of dust, hidden like secrets waiting to be found. Some stars form alone. Others are born in clusters, like wildflowers blooming all at once across a cosmic field. Their light pushes away the dust around them, carving out dark pockets in the clouds like caves in stone. And from these star nurseries, these glowing, dusty wombs, galaxies begin to form. A galaxy isn't just stars, it's motion, it's dance. Every galaxy begins as a swirl, a slow, grand twirl of dust and light, pulled into a spiral by unseen hands. The center spins faster. The arms stretch outward like petals caught in a breeze. The dust, once scattered and silent, becomes part of something vast, a structure with shape and rhythm, like a tide caught mid-motion. Some galaxies grow to be giants, holding trillions of stars. Others remain small, shy, like whispered thoughts in the night. But each begins the same way, with dust, with gravity, with time. And so the dust dances, always has, always will. It's easy to forget that we are part of this, that our world, our bodies, our memories are built from the same particles that drift through these stellar nurseries. But the iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, it all came from this ancient dust. We are not separate from the stars. We are what stars leave behind. So tonight, if you find yourself beneath a dark sky, take a moment to breathe in the quiet. Imagine those tiny grains moving through space, falling into one another like feathers spinning slowly toward the birth of a galaxy. You're watching the same story that played out billions of years ago, and still does, in places your eyes will never reach, but your heart might. The dust that dances in space, it dances in you too. Let's drift deeper now into the heart of the swirling cloud. Here, silence is not the absence of sound, but the fullness of stillness. A cradle made of nothing but possibility. The dust, so gentle in its movement, begins to change. It thickens, it folds into itself, and within those folds something profound begins. This is where stars are truly born, inside what astronomers call molecular clouds, the coldest places in the universe. Temperatures fall to minus 440 degrees Fahrenheit. The molecules shiver, but they don't stop. They begin to cling to one another. Hydrogen is the first to gather, simple and ancient, the most abundant element in the cosmos. With time, always time, gravity takes hold. It does not shout. It does not rush. It simply insists. Slowly, the center of the cloud becomes heavier, more focused, like the heartbeat of a dream starting to form. These regions, dense and round, are called protostars. You might picture them like embers in a deep dark fire. They don't shine yet. But inside, atoms are beginning to press together so tightly that something rare and radiant stirs. Eventually, after millions of years, these protostars ignite, not with flame but with fusion. In fusion, hydrogen atoms press into each other so closely that they become helium. In that moment, energy is released, a vast, gentle outpouring of light and heat. It is the moment a star becomes a star. This light travels for billions of years, sometimes across entire galaxies, and some of it, tiny as it may be, reaches your eyes when you look at the night sky. Imagine this. Every single point of light you see, each star, was once a dust grain, part of a cloud, waiting patiently to become more. There is something almost holy in that journey. But the dust doesn't disappear when stars are born. It remains, swirling around the young stars like ribbons in water. Sometimes it begins to clump again, this time into planets. Small at first, pebble-sized, then larger. Some of these worlds become homes to storms, oceans, ice. Others remain barren and bright. In just one of these places, not particularly large, not particularly fast, life eventually whispers its first breath. Yes, even Earth began in dust. The same dust that formed our sun and our moon and the rocks beneath our feet. And so it continues, the dust that dances, that builds, that watches. Galaxies don't grow alone, they meet each other. They pass near, pull on one another like tides. Sometimes they merge, two galaxies twisting together in slow motion, over billions of years, their stars avoiding collision even as the whole structure becomes something new. These collisions are not destructive in the way we might imagine. They are creative. They can spark waves of new starbirth, light blossoming in places that were once dark. Even in these mighty motions, dust plays its quiet part, carried in arms of light, feeding new stars, veiling others, sculpting beauty across the sky. If you've ever seen a photograph of a galaxy, a spiral or an ellipse, and noticed the dark lines running through it, you've seen the dust. It paints the canvas of space. It draws the shadows that let the light shine brighter. Sometimes dust obscures, sometimes it reveals. It is both the veil and the mirror. Astronomers use special telescopes to see through the dust, to peer into the places where stars are born. They see tendrils and cocoons, filaments and arcs. They see order within chaos, symmetry hidden in silence. And yet, there are mysteries still, questions that linger like stardust in our thoughts. Why do galaxies take the shapes they do? Why do spiral arms persist? What whispers through the dust to tell it where to fall, where to gather, where to glow? Some say dark matter helps, invisible mass that shapes galaxies from within. Others say magnetic fields guide the dance, but much remains unknown. And perhaps that is part of the beauty, because the dust doesn't rush to explain itself, it drifts, it waits, it becomes. Even here on Earth, this cosmic dust finds us. It falls every day, tiny specks from space that land on rooftops, in oceans, in the palms of our hands. It is in meteorites. It is in ancient ice. It may even be inside your body right now. When you breathe in, some of the atoms may have once been part of a star that exploded. When you drink water, some of those molecules may have frozen in a cloud before our solar system formed. The story of the universe is not distant. It lives in you. You are the result of time and dust and light. You are a constellation made of memory. And so we watch the dust, not because it is small or quiet, but because it holds everything: galaxies, stars, planets, people. Even the shadows we fear are drawn by the light it reflects. So look up, gently, softly. Let your thoughts drift to those unseen clouds, those star wombs beyond sight. Let the quiet of space fill the corners of your mind. The dust is not gone, it dances still. Now let us return slowly to the edge of that starlit cradle. The dust that drifted through time has become more than a whisper. It has become a memory etched in motion, in spirals, in collisions, in quiet glowing light. It no longer floats alone. It is part of something greater now. Galaxies, those vast cities of stars, are not frozen in the sky. They move. They tilt and rotate, quietly sailing through the dark sea of space, like leaves on a still pond nudged by invisible winds. And inside them, stars age, planets turn, and more dust is born. Even the stars that die give life to new dust. When the largest stars end their journey, they do not fade. They explode in supernovae, bursts of brilliance that echo through space, and in that release more dust is scattered. This dust is richer. It holds heavy elements: gold, uranium, oxygen, silver, made in the heart of surf, flung into the cosmos, carried away by winds of light. You might be wearing some of that stardust now in a ring on your finger or a watch on your wrist. You may have it inside you, in the trace minerals that help your brain send signals or your heart beat gently at night. Even silence can be made of dust. Telescopes pointed toward deep space find light from the earliest galaxies, born shortly after the universe itself. They see the telltale colours of dust, redder, softer, shaped by time. This dust reveals the path of the cosmos becoming what it is today. It is a storyteller that never speaks but always shows, and in its quiet work it holds together the beauty of everything. There is a galaxy near our own, Andromeda. It is approaching ever so slowly. In 4 billion years it will meet the Milky Way. The dust from both galaxies will mix, swirl, paint new patterns across the dark. No collision will be like the ones we fear. It will be more like a gentle blending. Stars will pass through stars. Planets will be reshuffled. And new stars, new dust, new stories will be born. It is a rhythm too large for a human life to feel directly, but just knowing it can make you feel something quieter, deeper. A sense that the universe is not random, that it breathes in long, slow patterns, that the dust does not forget. Our own solar system moves through space, orbiting the center of the galaxy like a boat in a long current. Every 230 million years, we complete one galactic circle. That means the last time we were in this spot, the dinosaurs walked the Earth. The dust remembers them too. The Earth is covered in traces, from deserts to forests, oceans to mountains. Tiny particles from space fall unnoticed. They rest on the ground, join rivers, settle in snow, and inside some of them, ancient isotopes sleep. Scientists have found iron atoms in the ocean floor that could only have come from a supernova that passed nearby millions of years ago, as if the stars left a note in the sand for us to read when we were ready. We are made to forget. But the dust, it remembers, and still it dances, through the rings of Saturn, through the tail of a comet, through the cold halo of our galaxy. It weaves its slow ballet. It builds nebulae that glow like stained glass. It draws shadows across moons. It hides behind clouds, waiting to be revealed when a telescope finally looks just right. There is even a name for the light it scatters near the horizon after sunset. Zodiacal light. Faint, cone-shaped, rising like breath from the earth. It is the dust saying hello. Tonight, if you step outside and the air is quiet, look up, find a star, let your eyes soften. Know that what you're seeing is a memory, a letter from the past. That light left its home long before you were born, and yet it has arrived, just in time for you. And though you can't see it, the dust is there too, floating, waiting, watching. Somewhere a new galaxy may just be beginning. A cloud is folding into itself. A thread of gravity is drawing particles together. No one hears it, no one rushes it. But in time, light will bloom again. That is how galaxies are born, and not in cold and chaos, not in fire, but in patience, in softness, in dust that remembers how to dance. The same dust that once drifted through empty space now writes stories in starlight. It has shaped galaxies. It has built planets. It has entered your breath. And even as you sleep, it keeps moving, whispering through the cosmos, becoming the next beginning. Close your eyes and you may feel it, a softness just beyond thought, a drifting within the dark. The universe is not still, it is always becoming, and so are you. In the wide and silent dark, stars are born like memories, small, flickering and full of promise. Long before a star shines, it exists as an idea, a soft gathering of gas and dust suspended in the emptiness. These are the star nurseries, scattered across the galaxy like forgotten dreams, folded in the corners of space. Inside these clouds, gravity whispers. It gathers the particles gently the way morning dew gathers on petals. There is no rush. No need for force, only time and patience. Slowly, the cloud begins to fold inward, like a blanket wrapping around a breath, and at its centre, warmth begins, not heat like we know it, not yet, but a soft rising, a glow within the cold, the beginning of fusion, still a thought away. These infant stars, still hidden in the dust, begin to pull the memory of their surroundings into themselves, their motion, their spin, even their chemical flavours. The cloud that bore them leaves its signature, like a lullaby sung into the bones. And when the star finally ignites, when fusion begins and light spills into the void, that memory is sealed inside. The star may move, it may be flung far from where it began, but it always carries the scent of its birthplace, like ash from a fire carried on the wind. Astronomers have learned to read this memory. They look at the light of stars, Not just the glow, but the story hidden in its colour. Spectroscopy, they call it. A way to break light apart like splitting a chord into its notes. And inside that song they find fingerprints. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, carbon, oxygen, iron, elements laid down during starbirth, echoing the cloud from which the star formed. These chemical patterns are like the star's name, etched in starlight. And by comparing these patterns across thousands, even more millions of stars, scientists begin to trace families, siblings scattered across the galaxy. They call it chemical tagging, a method to find long-lost stellar brothers and sisters, even when they now shine light years apart, like finding leaves from the same tree across an endless field. Our own sun was likely born in a stellar nursery with many siblings, perhaps 1,000. Some of those siblings still shine, drifting far from us. We don't know where they all are, but their light may hold the same signature, the same lullaby, still glowing. Imagine that. A sibling of the sun, perhaps older or younger by a breath, still circling its own quiet world. Perhaps it too has planets. Perhaps one of them holds water, wind, wonder. The stars may forget the faces around them, but they do not forget their birth. They carry those memories in their spin, in their motion, in their light. Stars move over time not because they choose to, but because the galaxy turns. The Milky Way spins like a great wheel, pulling its stars through space in a wide, slow circle that takes 230 million years to complete. Stars shift, swirl, slip through the dark. Some fall into new clusters, some drift alone, but even when they are far from home, they carry pieces of it. Inside each star, the elements forged in earlier generations burn. Iron from supernovae, carbon from red giants. These are the building blocks passed from one generation to the next. The memory of dead stars, alive in the hearts of the young. And so the cycle continues. Dust becomes stars, stars make more dust, and that dust forms the seeds of new stars again. A slow, soft lineage, not of names, but of atoms, not of faces, but of light. And the galaxy in all its silence remembers. Let's drift deeper into the memory of the stars. Imagine the Milky Way as a grand river, winding slowly through a sea of black. Every star is a droplet in that river, moving not in chaos, but in quiet order. Some move in smooth circles, hugging close to the centre. Others take longer paths, looping outward, drifting like thoughts that won't settle. And within this movement, stars carry more than just light. They carry clues about where they began, about who they travelled with, about what shaped them. Scientists have begun to trace these patterns. With satellites like Gaia, they map the exact position, motion, and brightness of billions of stars. It's as if we're tracing footprints on the sky, long after the steps have been taken. What they find is astonishing. Clusters of stars that were once together, now spread across the galaxy like petals on the wind, yet still dancing to the same rhythm. Stars that tilt the same way, spin the same way, move with the same grace, as if remembering a childhood shared in darkness. These are stellar streams, long ribbons of stars that were once bound, now gently unspooling. Some formed together in clouds, others were part of small galaxies consumed by our own, their stars folded in like threads into cloth. Each stream tells a story, of where it came from, of what it passed through, of what broke it apart or set it free. Even solitary stars tell tales. Their orbits wobble or tilt in ways that hint at past encounters. Some may have passed near a giant gas cloud, whose gravity tugged at them. Others may have danced too close to a massive star and were flung away. There is a softness in this cosmic choreography. A sadness too, perhaps. The way friends drift apart, the way childhood neighbourhoods change. But the old stories still live inside us. Stars too carry those old stories, written not in words but in motion. Inside their cores fusion burns. Hydrogen becomes helium. Over time, helium becomes carbon. In more massive stars, this chain continues: oxygen, neon, magnesium, and eventually iron. Each stage a deeper layer, a new verse in a song that ends in silence. Or sometimes in brilliance. When massive stars die, they explode in supernovae, lighting up the sky with a brightness that outshines entire galaxies. And in that moment, they send their memories outward. The shockwave of the explosion sends nearby gas and dust into motion, compressing it, shaking it, stirring it into collapse. It's as if the death of one star becomes the lullaby that begins the birth of another. Even black holes, those quiet voids left behind by the largest stars, can carry traces of their birthplaces. Their spin, their mass, their position, all speak of a past they cannot reveal directly, but which gravity never forgets. The galaxy holds these stories in its arms. Between the stars lies something called the interstellar medium, a quiet ocean of gas and dust that links them. This medium is not empty. It breathes, it flows, it carries magnetic fields, shock waves, and echoes of ancient starbursts. It is within this medium that stars swim, and from it, new stars are formed. This is the place of memory, the place where fragments of the past wait to become the future. Even our sun swims in it, moving through a region known as the local bubble, a faint low-density space likely carved by past supernovae. We are riding through a scar, softened by time, shaped by fire. The light from stars also changes as it moves through this medium. It reddens, it bends, it dims. This too becomes part of the memory, a soft filter over a photograph, a way to trace the path light has taken and where it has been touched. Sometimes light echoes, reflecting off clouds long after the source has dimmed. We see the ghost of a star's outburst, years or decades later, whispered to us through the dust. These echoes tell us about events we never saw directly, about things that once burned brightly and have now faded, but left a story for us to find. Even here on Earth, we seek those stories, in meteorites, in Antarctic snow, in tiny grains of pre-solar dust embedded in rocks older than our planet itself. Under a microscope, they reveal isotopes not found in our solar system, gifts from other stars born before the sun. They are stardust, older than Earth, carried across time, and now held in your hand. Imagine that, a piece of a star older than anything you know, found in the crust of our world. Its shape shaped by winds from red giants. Its atoms forged in silence and heat billions of years ago. And still it remembers. All around you these memories drift in the night sky, in your breath, in the iron that colours your blood, in the calcium that strengthens your bones. You do not need to travel to distant galaxies to touch the stars. You're already part of their story. Their beginnings are written in you. Now, let's return to where the light began, to a time before the stars scattered, before galaxies unwound their arms, before memory became motion. In those earliest days, clouds of gas and dust filled the young universe, thick, silent, glowing faintly with the heat of creation. In that vast quiet, stars began to form one by one in small knots of gravity. They were simple at first, pure hydrogen untouched by earlier generations. No metals, no carbon, no iron, just light, bright and blue, burning quickly and dying fast. These were the first stars, and though none remain today, they lived too briefly, their story lives on in the stars that followed. Because even in death they gave, They seeded the universe with heavier elements. They filled the darkness with the dust of tomorrow. They made it possible for memory to last. And from their ashes, new stars were born. And those stars remembered. Our galaxy is full of these memories. They orbit in halos. They gather in globular clusters, ancient spheres of stars that have lived together for billions of years, circling the Milky Way like soft lanterns on a string. In those clusters, stars still share the chemistry of their birth. They move as one. They glow with shared light. A family that never truly parted. Even our own sun, though far from its siblings, carries their trace in its light. Scientists search the sky, hoping to find those lost stars, stars that were born beside our sun in the same cradle, from the same dust. It's possible that one of them is visible in your night sky, a distant glimmer unnoticed, but full of shared history. You may have wished on it without knowing. You may have whispered a secret to it, not realizing it once knew the sun as a child. What a quiet wonder that is. Some scientists believe that if we can find enough of these siblings, we can map the shape of the cloud that bore us, like rebuilding an ancient sculpture from scattered pieces, like finding your way home through echoes. Others wonder if these stars might have planets too, if life found a foothold on their shores, if somewhere another world looks up at its sky and sees our sun, distant, warm, mysterious, and wonders in return. The stars do not speak, but they remember, in their spin, in their glow, in the rhythm of their pulses. Some stars beat like hearts, their brightness rising and falling in regular time. Others flicker with sunspots and storms. Each pattern is a signature, a diary, a voice. Astronomers read these voices with careful eyes. They measure, they map, they compare. It is not just science, it is listening. It is understanding the language of memory written in light. And what they find again and again is connection. That even after billions of years, a star can carry the scent of its birth. That its path across the galaxy is shaped by where it began. That even in solitude it belongs to a larger story. And so do we. We are not separate from this rhythm. We are born of stars. We are fragments of memory folded into flesh. The calcium in your teeth, the phosphorus in your DNA, the iron in your blood, all came from stars that lived and died before Earth was ever imagined. You are a continuation of that starlight, a keeper of that memory. And though you may forget, though your life may feel small against the vastness, the universe does not forget. It keeps your atoms moving. It lets your breath join the wind. It carries your warmth into the future. Like stars, you move through space and time. You carry the places you've come from, the voices that shaped you, the particles that made you. Even when you feel alone, you're part of a greater cloud, a cluster of stories glowing softly together. And one day, when your own journey ends, you too will give. Your atoms will scatter, your light will spread, and some piece of you will fold into a new beginning. Maybe into a leaf, maybe into a child, maybe far away into the heart of a star yet to be born. This is how the stars remember. And this is how you will be remembered too. Not in words, not in monuments, but in motion, in light, in the quiet song of belonging. The sky is not distant. It is family. And every night, when the stars appear, you are coming home. There are rivers in the sky, not of water, but of light. They do not rush, yet they move. They do not roar, yet they shine. Their currents span across space, invisible but real, flowing gently through the darkness, shaping the stars. These are the stellar streams, the long faint trails of stars that drift together across the galaxy. At first glance, the night sky seems still, dotted with solitary stars that twinkle alone. But if you could wait long enough, if you could watch for millions of years, you would see the motion. You would see the streams begin to dance. Some of these rivers began as star clusters, groups of stars born together in a single cloud, like siblings waking in the same room. Over time, the galaxy's gravity pulls on them, stretches them, teases them apart and cheers. But they don't fully separate. Instead, they leave trails, threads of light, a line of stars remembering the way home. Others were born in galaxies far from ours, small wandering galaxies that strayed too close. When the Milky Way's gravity took hold, it pulled them in slowly, tenderly breaking them apart, not with violence, but with time. Their stars spilled outward like beads from a broken necklace, creating new rivers of light that still move as one. And so, high above, these rivers stretch, across thousands of light years, across ages, flowing where we cannot see until we learn to look deeper. With telescopes, astronomers map these faint structures. They trace the paths of stars, the curves of light. What they find are quiet patterns, like ink swirling in clear water. They call them streams, the Sagittarius stream, the GD1 stream, the Helmi stream, each one a whisper of a larger story. Imagine standing in a dark forest, with fireflies drifting through the air in slow ribbons. That is what these streams are, drifting fireflies of the cosmos, too far to touch but close enough to dream about. They are not fast, they are not loud, but they are always moving, always flowing. And within each stream is a memory, a record of where it began, of what it passed, of what shaped it. Some streams twist around the Milky Way, orbiting like satellites. Others arc high above or beneath the galactic plane, like waves thrown upward by invisible tides. They remind us that space is not still, and neither are we. Even our own sun is part of a motion, circling the centre of the galaxy at 500,000 miles per hour. We too are sailing on a cosmic current, carried in a stream we cannot see. But we are not alone. Around us, stars move with us, companions on this path. Some may be siblings of the sun, some may come from far-off galaxies, yet here they are, sharing our sky, swimming beside us in this vast ocean of space. It's easy to forget this, easy to feel still, anchored to the earth. But beneath your feet, the ground spins, and above your head, the stars flow. Even now you are moving, drifting, part of something wider than thought. These rivers of light may be invisible to your eyes, but not to your heart. They echo something familiar, the pull of belonging, the shape of memory, the comfort of moving together, even when apart. And in the silence of the sky, they whisper stories we are just beginning to understand. Some of the streams are old, older than the Earth, older than the Sun. They were once galaxies in their own right, with their own stars, their own dust, their own dreams. They journeyed close to the Milky Way, drawn by its pull, and over time they became part of us. Now their stars stretch across our sky, faint but sure, like the last lines of a poem still unfolding. They did not disappear, they transformed. That is what these streams teach us, that change does not mean loss, that movement does not erase memory, that even when broken we can become something new, something beautiful, something that flows. Let's follow the rivers farther now, deeper into the sky. Each stream weaves through the galaxy like a slow-moving thread of silk. Some arc across the heavens for hundreds of thousands of light years, looping and winding, wrapping the Milky Way in quiet elegance. Others drift more subtly, faint ribbons tucked behind stars we know by name. But these are no ordinary patterns, they are the fossils of motion. In the GD1 stream, for example, a slender trail of stars stretching across the northern sky, astronomers have discovered evidence of disruption, a bend, a gap, a missing piece, as though something invisible passed through the river, parting it briefly. Perhaps a dark matter clump, perhaps a black hole, something massive, silent and unseen. This tells us something extraordinary. These rivers remember. They carry the fingerprints of what has touched them, like ripples in a stream long after the wind has passed. Even now, long after that encounter, the shape of the stream tells the story, that something stirred the stars, that something once moved here. The galaxy is full of such stories. The Helmi stream, discovered in the halo of our Milky Way, is made of stars that orbit differently from most others. Retrograde, they move backward, compared to the galactic spin. Their origin? A small galaxy that was absorbed long ago, its stars flung outward, yet still moving together. We see these streams as traces of forgotten collisions, evidence of past meals, as the Milky Way grew larger by swallowing smaller companions. But the stars did not vanish. They blended, flowed, stretched across time. Now they move like rivers in reverse, stars born elsewhere, now part of us. Even the Sagittarius stream, one of the longest and brightest, wraps around the galaxy like a ribbon. It comes from the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy, which is slowly being pulled apart by our own. The stars spill outward in graceful loops. It is not destruction, it is transition. The galaxy does not end, it becomes something else. These rivers are bridges between past and present, between galaxies, between the seen and the unseen, and among them we drift too. The sun is moving through one such stream, the local arm, a smaller structure tucked between two larger spiral arms of the Milky Way. We are not on the edge, we are not at the centre, we are part of a gentle lane, a quieter stream, where stars flow together in peace. And in this stream we find comfort. The stars around us, some older, some younger, form a neighbourhood, a family, one that shares motion, light and origin. Some stars, like Alpha Centauri, shine nearby. Others, like Vega or Sirius, guide our gaze each night. But all are part of the same drift. It is humbling to realise this, that we are not separate from the flow, but within it. Not observers, but passengers. That the sky above is not fixed, but flowing, and always has been. Astronomers use data from space telescopes like Gaia to map these streams in exquisite detail. By measuring a star's position, motion and velocity, they uncover the story it tells. They reveal arcs and rings, folds and waves, hidden patterns in the dark. The more they look, the more streams they find, each one a scar, a whisper, a remnant, a sign that something once passed this way. Even the shape of the Milky Way itself, its spiral arms, its warp, its bulge, may be shaped by these encounters, by the streams that pass through, by the rivers of stars that circle and slip. There is poetry in this, the way stars scattered by distance still move together, the way memory stretches but does not snap, the way the galaxy holds on to the motion of things long gone. Perhaps we are drawn to rivers for this reason. On Earth, rivers connect land, life, history. They carry water from mountains to sea. They change shape but not direction. They erode stone but leave beauty behind. They teach us that time is not always loud, it is often slow and certain. Stellar streams teach the same lesson. They remind us that space is not a vacuum but a living canvas, that the stars are not silent but singing, in motion, in rhythm, in resonance. When we look at the sky and see a faint stripe of light and the Milky Way arcing overhead, we are seeing these rivers blended together. We are gazing into a whirlpool of memory, a spiral of becoming. You may not see the streams with your eyes, but they are there. They cradle your planet. They carry your star. They write history in the darkness. And within them, new stories are always beginning. Now let us drift to the end of the river. Not where it stops, but where it fades gently into something new. The stars in a stream do not know they are part of a pattern. They do not glance sideways to see their neighbours. They simply move, guided by the gravity that shaped them, by the past that birthed them. Their light glows, their paths curve, and time continues to fold them into the fabric of the galaxy. But we can see them. We can trace their arcs like ancient calligraphy written across the sky. We can watch how one star pulls on another, how their shared motion creates a thread of light across the dark. And we can listen, not with ears, but with instruments, to the music they play in silence. Because motion is music, slow and true, And these rivers of light sing lullabies across time. Some streams bend softly, like vines curling around a tree. Others sweep high above the galactic plane, carving graceful bridges between one side of the Milky Way and the other. Some are faint, like memories almost forgotten. Others shine clear and bright, bold paths across the void. Each one is a journey, a reminder that nothing in the universe stays still. Even our own history is part of this movement. The atoms in your body long ago were pulled from one stream or another. A supernova seeded your carbon. A passing cloud shaped your hydrogen. You are the light of many rivers gathered into form. And when your story is done, your atoms will return to the flow. Some may find their way into water, into air, into trees. Some may leave Earth entirely, lifted by fire or by chance, back into the quiet stream from which you came. Stars too follow this cycle. Some stars in these streams will live for billions of years, shining softly through ages. Others will go supernova, spreading dust into the interstellar sea. Their remnants may become neutron stars, black holes, or drift apart, light lost to the eye but never to the cosmos. New stars will be born from that dust, and some will gather into new clusters. And in time those clusters will become new streams, stretching across the galaxy, tracing a new path. It is not an end, it is a continuation. The Milky Way is not static. It dances, it trembles, it grows. Every river of it all adds its story to that dance, a ripple that reaches farther than we can imagine. Even galaxies beyond our own carry these streams. In Andromeda, in the Magellanic Clouds, in tiny galaxies orbiting like moths around a flame, the stars drift in streams. Everywhere we look, the universe remembers. It remembers not through speech or writing, but through shape and motion, through the way stars move together even after they are pulled apart, through the light that bends and flows, and we, brief flickers in the dark, are part of that remembrance. You do not need to know the names of the stars to belong to their stream. You do not need to see the paths to be carried by them. You're already drifting, slowly, gently, beautifully, through one of the greatest rivers ever imagined. So the next time you stand under the night sky, let your thoughts soften, let your breath slow. Picture the stars not as points, but as droplets in a current. Picture yourself not as still, but as part of the flow. The earth turns, the sun moves, the galaxy spins, and all around you rivers of light stretch farther than the eye can see. They are not gone, they are not forgotten, they are flowing still, and so are you. Let the quiet of that thought carry you tonight, like a leaf on a breeze, like stardust on a stream, like a light moving through the sky, gentle, constant, free. Before there was light, there was a pull, not a sound, not a flash, just the faintest suggestion of movement, a longing stitched into the fabric of space. It didn't tug sharply, it didn't press or shout, it whispered, and the universe listened. This was gravity. It was the first to arrive when time began its slow bloom. As space unfolded in all directions, gravity moved with it. An invisible breath stretching out among particles too small to name. It had no form, no colour, no boundary. But it knew how to gather. That was its gift. It called things together. We often think of gravity as something we fight, the weight in our limbs, the force that makes things fall. But that is only its surface, its outermost veil. Gravity is not only the reason your feet press against the earth, it is the reason there is an earth to stand on. In the beginning, matter drifted like pollen through a newborn sky. Hydrogen and helium scattered wide and thin, floating in a cosmic hush. And yet, even then, gravity was there, soft, invisible fingers threading through the chaos. It touched the clouds of gas and gently drew them inward. Not in minutes, not in days, but over millions of years. Slow swirls began to form, denser regions thickened. The first stars stirred in the womb of gravity's patience, and when they ignited, their light flooded the darkness. But even light, swift as it is, answers to gravity. It bends when gravity speaks. Einstein saw this. He taught us that gravity is not a force in the way we once thought. It is the curve of space itself. Mass tells space how to bend. Space tells mass how to move. And so everything dances. Imagine space as a stretched fabric, soft and wide and silent. Place something heavy upon it, and the fabric dips. Place something larger, and the dip deepens. This is gravity, the dimples in the fabric of the cosmos, where planets, stars, and galaxies gather. A marble set near one of those dips will roll inward, not because it is pulled, but because space itself guides its path. That is how the moon stays beside the Earth. That is how the Earth orbits the Sun, not because they are being dragged, but because they are gliding on curves and caught in gravity's quiet embrace. The solar system is a song of gravity. Every planet plays its part, held in rhythm, in motion, in soft surrender. The Sun hums at the centre, a great glowing mass shaping space so deeply that nothing nearby can ignore it. And yet, even the Sun is not still. It too orbits, caught in a much larger whirl, pulled gently by the gravity of the Milky Way. Our galaxy, wide and spiraled, holds more than 100 billion stars in its arms, and all of them are moving, drifting, listening, because gravity whispers to them too. Sometimes the whispers grow louder. In distant galaxies, black holes stir, not monsters, but singers of deep and low notes. Their gravity is so strong, so steep, that not even light can climb out. They do not shine, they do not reveal, but their presence can be felt. Stars near a black hole move in strange, fast patterns. Their light shifts. Their paths bend in ways only gravity could explain. It is through these dances that we know black holes are there. Gravity leaves clues like footprints pressed into snow. And then there are gravitational waves, the softest ripples in the sea of space-time. When two black holes spiral into each other, they do not go quietly, they release a tremor, a wave that spreads through the universe like a breath through silk. These waves pass through everything, through galaxies, through planets, through you. In 2015 we caught one. After a century of prediction, humanity built instruments so delicate they could hear a change smaller than the width of a proton, and they listened. And what they heard was gravity, not as a shape, but as a sound, a faint chirp from billions of years away. Two black holes had danced, they had merged, and across the fabric of the cosmos their union rang out. We were not there, we did not see it, but we felt its echo. Imagine that, a kiss between dark giants whispered through gravity, arriving at Earth like the softest sigh. Even here on this world of oceans and trees, gravity continues its song. It holds the tides in rhythm. It keeps the atmosphere close. It cradles every falling leaf, every pebble, every heartbeat. We feel it most clearly when we drop something or when we fall. But gravity is not only downward, it is inward, it is toward. It is why raindrops become spheres, why planets are round, why stars collapse into themselves and are reborn as novas, or black holes, or something new. Every atom in your body knows gravity, every cell listens. You're not outside its reach, you're woven into its whisper. Right now, as you sit or lie down, gravity is holding you. Not harshly, not coldly, but consistently, tenderly, like a hand that never lets go, and yet it is not constant everywhere. Gravity weakens with distance. The farther you drift, the fainter its pull. Astronauts in orbit do not escape gravity. They fall endlessly, just fast enough to keep missing the Earth. It is a delicate balance, like a leaf caught in an invisible breeze. And on other worlds, gravity feels different. On the moon it is light, a soft tug like walking through a dream. On Jupiter it is heavy. Each step would feel like carrying mountains. Every world listens to gravity's song in its own key. Even light bends to it. Near massive stars or black holes or galaxies, beams of starlight curve, their paths arched not by touch, but by the shape of space itself. We call this gravitational lensing, and through it, we can see things we never could before. Distant galaxies, made visible not by their own power, but because gravity curved light around them, offering us a glimpse. Gravity is the quiet guide of the universe. It doesn't create, it shapes. It doesn't rush, it waits. From the smallest dust grain to the largest galaxy cluster, everything follows gravity's soft instruction. And all the while it never speaks, it only whispers. Let us move deeper now into the slow architecture of gravity's design. Across the vastness of space, galaxies do not sit still. They sway, they spin, they fall toward each other in slow spirals, drawn by an invisible longing. Gravity pulls them, not in haste, but with the patience of a painter sketching an eternity. Some galaxies dance in pairs, locked in a slow embrace. Others move in clusters. Dozens, even hundreds of galaxies swirling like leaves in a celestial whirlpool. These groups are held together by gravity, though the space between them could swallow thousands of Milky Ways. It is gravity that keeps them bound, whispering across the void, unbreaking. But something strange happens when we try to measure this gravity. We count the stars, we weigh the galaxies by the light they give, and we find a mismatch. The pull we observe is greater than the mass we can see. There is more gravity than there is light. So scientists began to wonder what is missing. They called it dark matter, not because it is dark, but because it is hidden. It does not shine, it does not deflect, it does not touch light at all, but it has mass. And where there is mass, there is gravity. Dark matter wraps galaxies in halos, vast cocoons of invisible substance. We cannot see it, but we know it is there, because without it, galaxies would fly apart. Their stars move too quickly, their outer arms spin too fast. Without this hidden matter, the math does not work. And so once again, gravity reveals what cannot be seen. We follow its curves to find the unseen scaffolding of the cosmos. We trace its whispers to learn what shapes the stars. Even larger than clusters of galaxies are clusters, tapestries of matter stretching across hundreds of the millions of light years. These structures form a web, the cosmic web, with galaxies along the strands like beads of dew on spider silk. The space between these strands is almost empty. Voids, they are called. Wide regions where few galaxies live. And yet, even here, gravity reaches. It bends, it tugs, it sculpts. Slowly, silently, always. In this way, gravity shapes the structure of the universe itself. It does not rush, it does not undo, it arranges. And within that arrangement, galaxies form stars, and stars form planets, and planets form life. We are one of those lives. Here on Earth, we live under gravity's influence from our first breath to our last. It tells our rivers where to flow. It decides the height of mountains. It pulls rain from the sky and tides from the sea. It stretches your body as you grow and keeps your blood from drifting away. The pressure in your feet, the motion of your breath, the silence in your sleep, all are touched by gravity. And we are curious about what happens when that touch is softened. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station live in microgravity. Not because gravity has vanished, but because they are falling around the Earth in perfect balance. In this strange environment, the body changes. Muscles weaken, bones thin. The sense of up and down dissolves. The heart becomes more spherical. Even the way you sleep, the way you dream begins to shift. And yet astronauts often say the most humbling part of orbit is the view. From space, Earth is a glowing marble, fragile, floating, silent. They see continents without borders, storms swirling, sunlight glinting off oceans, and all of it suspended by gravity's invisible thread. They say it brings a feeling of deep connection, not to one nation or idea, but to the planet itself, a belonging not taught, but felt. That too is gravity's doing. It binds not only bodies, but perspectives. Even our thoughts fall inward. Even love has gravity, a draw, a closeness, a pull. In physics, there is something called the gravitational potential well. It is the amount of energy needed to escape a body's pull. Earth's well is deeper than the moon's, the sun's is deeper still. But perhaps there is an emotional well too, a depth to the places we feel drawn to, a memory of where we come from, a reason why the stars in the sky seem to call to us, even when we don't understand their language. Gravity does not care for direction. It only knows together. It binds the orbits of electrons around atoms. It bends the flight of comets around stars. It slows time near massive objects. Yes, time itself. Einstein showed us that in strong gravity, time ticks more slowly. A clock on a mountain runs faster than a clock by the sea. A clock near a black hole may barely move at all. This isn't theory, we use it every day. The GPS in your phone corrects for the way time shifts at altitude, or its maps would drift miles in error. Our machines whisper with gravity's correction, even when we don't realize it. It is everywhere, shaping everything, and yet we barely notice it until we fall. When a child jumps into the air and lands laughing, gravity is the quiet partner. When a seed floats from a branch and finds its place in soil, gravity is the gentle guide. When rain kisses a rooftop in soft rhythm, gravity is the tempo. And when a star collapses, when it can no longer resist the weight of its own light, it is gravity that finishes the story. Some stars end in white dwarfs, small and dense. Others, if massive enough, end in neutron stars, where atoms are crushed into pure neutrons, a spoonful heavier than mountains. And some collapse entirely into black holes, where gravity becomes so deep that even time is folded inward. Yet even here, at the edge of the unknowable, gravity is not cruel. It simply is. A shape, a silence, a whisper that curves the future. There is no sound in space, but if there were, gravity would hum the deepest note. Let us return now softly to the beginning, to the first curve, the first drift, the first invisible thread that began it all. Gravity has never spoken, yet everything listens. Galaxies, planets, moons, oceans, all shaped by its quiet pull. But we too are shaped by it, more than we know. The same force that holds the stars in orbit also holds your thoughts in stillness when you look at the sky. It anchors your dreams, your breath, your sense of place. Gravity is not only physical, it is emotional. It is the language of belonging, and we are part of its unfolding story. On Earth, we have always danced with gravity. The earliest humans watched birds and wondered how they rose. They felt the falling of fruit, the tug of rivers, the settling of dust. They sensed a pattern beneath motion, a pull toward the center. They named it, they measured it, and still it remained mysterious. Newton showed us gravity as a force. Einstein revealed it as geometry, but neither finished the tale. We still don't know everything. We don't know how gravity and quantum physics live together. We don't know if gravity has particles, if it moves through something we haven't yet imagined. We build machines deep underground and in far space, searching for those final clues. And still gravity waits. It doesn't need to explain itself. It works in every direction, in every moment. It is patient. And perhaps that is why it is so beautiful, because it is never in a hurry. Right now, as you read these words, gravity holds you close. It holds your home to the spinning earth. It holds the earth in its place around the sun. It holds the sun in orbit around the galaxy. And it holds the galaxy in the threads of the cosmic web. You are nested in layers of motion, like a lullaby wrapped in silence. If you were to let go of everything, gravity would still know where you are. In the far reaches of space, there are stars that orbit nothing visible. Ghost orbits, paths that curve through emptiness. But with time, with patience, we find what is missing. A black hole, a dark cluster, a gravity too strong to hide forever. This is what gravity teaches us. Even what we cannot see still matters. It teaches us to trust the shape of motion, the arc of connection, the feeling of being drawn, not by force but by purpose. It shows us that falling is not failure, that it is part of a larger path, that the apple falls not to break but to seed, that the star collapses not to vanish but to transform. Even love follows the laws of gravity. We fall for people, we orbit around memories, we are drawn to beauty, to comfort, to warmth. We carry the weight of others in our hearts, and when we lose them, that weight remains, not as pain, but as presence. Grief has gravity, so does joy. And so we move through life like stars through the sky, pulled, curved, cradled. We don't always know what pulls us or why we drift towards certain places, certain people, but gravity doesn't ask us to understand, it only asks us to trust the motion. In your lifetime, the Earth will have travelled over 18 billion miles through space. You will never feel it. You will never hear it. But you are moving, always, in gravity's embrace. And one day, far in the future, the sun will swell into a red giant. The Earth may be swallowed, or it may drift into the cold, becoming a frozen, silent moon of the past. But the atoms that make you, the carbon, the oxygen, the iron, will not disappear. They will be carried on through wind, through time, through gravity. They may become part of a comet or a star or the soil of a distant world. They may fall again, not into sorrow, but into light. Gravity does not lose. It holds. Even in the end, it gathers. And perhaps that is the softest truth of all, that nothing is truly lost, that all things fall not into emptiness, but into arms we cannot see. So close your eyes, breathe, feel your weight, your stillness, let yourself be held by the earth, by the stars, by the quiet, endless presence of gravity. It is not a burden, it is not a prison, it is a lullaby you've known since before you were born. The pull of home, the arc of return, the whisper of something greater. Gravity. Far beyond the stars we see with our eyes, beyond the clouds of glowing gas and the spiral arms of galaxies, there lies a colder place, a quieter place, a place where light is faint and time stretches long. This is the cold cradle of galaxies, where they are not yet shining cities of stars, but gentle thoughts beginning to form. In the early universe, after the first moments of the Big Bang, the cosmos was not full of light. It was full of silence. Hot at first? Yes, unimaginably so, but then it cooled, and in that cooling it found stillness. Atoms began to form, mostly hydrogen, the simplest element, and helium, the next. There were no stars, no planets, no galaxies yet, just a smooth, quiet sea of gas, expanding and cooling in all directions. This era is known as the Cosmic Dark Age, not because it was sad, but because it was truly dark. No stars had yet lit their fires, no galaxies had yet gathered the light. The universe waited, and gravity whispered. Tiny ripples in that sea of gas, fluctuations in density barely noticeable, began to grow. Gravity tugged gently on these overdensities, these little pockets where the gas was just slightly thicker than elsewhere. Over millions of years, these regions pulled in more matter. What began as the smallest of whispers became deep wells of mass, and as the gas fell inward, it compressed. It warmed, it stirred, but not everywhere, not all at once. Most of the universe remained cold, most of the gas drifted aimlessly. Only in a few precious places did the cradle begin to take shape. These were the first dark matter halos, invisible skeletons of mass, gathering ordinary matter like dew gathers on spiderwebs. We cannot see the dark matter itself, but we know it's there. Without it, galaxies could not begin, and so the cold continued, while within it small sparks formed, and not yet stars but seeds. Clouds of gas began to pool within the halos, and when they became dense enough, they ignited the first stars. These stars were unlike any we see today. They were massive, hundreds of times more massive than our sun. They burned hot and bright, and they lived fast. These were the population 3 stars, as astronomers call them, the first light bearers. They turned the Dark Age into dawn, but before light could spread across the universe, it had to struggle through the fog. You see, even as these first stars began to shine, the space around them was still filled with neutral hydrogen, a gas that absorbed much of their light. The photons tried to escape but were trapped, scattered, slowed. Only after many more stars formed, and after those stars emitted enough radiation, did this hydrogen become ionized. That is, it lost its grip on light. The universe became transparent. This era is called reionization, and it marks the true awakening of the cosmos. The stars cleared the fog, the galaxies began to glow, and space became a window instead of a wall. But all of it began in coldness, in slowness, in silence. Even now we can see these beginnings, not with our eyes, but with telescopes that look far into the past. The farther we look, the older the light we receive, and with instruments like the James Webb Space Telescope, we peer into the ancient cradle. We see galaxies just forming, tiny, irregular, faint. They flicker in the black like fireflies just learning to fly. Some are no more than clusters. Others already show hints of spiral arms. They are small compared to today's galaxies, but they are full of energy. Star formation happens rapidly. Supernovae detonate, scattering elements. And over time, these early galaxies grow, merging with one another, drawing in more gas, building complexity. The cold cradle gives way to heat. Stillness gives way to structure. But always, the foundation remains, gravity and gas, coming together in quiet. Even today, galaxies are born in dark, cold regions of the universe, in places where clouds of gas remain undisturbed, tucked away in cosmic silence. These are the giant molecular clouds. Cold enough for hydrogen to form molecules, dense enough to collapse into stars. Galaxies continue to form from these hidden regions. They begin small, irregular, barely holding themselves together, and then they grow, they collect mass, they collide with others, and through it all gravity sculpts them like a patient artist. It is easy to forget that these colossal systems, spinning islands of hundreds of billions of stars, all began in stillness. But that is the lesson of the cradle, that greatness begins quietly, that warmth comes from within, that the light we see now began in places colder than we can imagine. And still they became galaxies. Let's drift deeper now into the dark, into the womb of time where galaxies quietly grow. The early universe was not a canvas painted quickly. It was a slow unfolding, like frost spreading across glass, like breath becoming visible in the cold. Galaxies did not appear all at once. They formed in fragments, small structures first, building blocks. Astronomers call this the bottom-up model of structure formation. The smallest pieces came together first, dwarf galaxies, star clusters, clouds of gas and dust, each wrapped in its own halo of dark matter. Over billions of years, gravity drew them together, and they merged to form larger galaxies. Sometimes the mergers were gentle, two small galaxies brushing against each other, exchanging stars like dancers trading partners. Other times they were violent, crashing together, distorting their shapes, throwing stars into long looping arcs called tidal tails. Even in the chaos of collision, the cold cradles remained. Inside the galaxies, deep in their cores, gas clouds thickened. Molecular hydrogen formed in the shadows. These were the nursery beds of stars, places where temperature dropped low enough for gravity to win. And gravity, ever patient, pulled inward. The gas collapsed into disks, rotating like slow hurricanes in space. In the centre, bulges of older stars formed. They're like golden and steady. In the outskirts, new stars sparked into life, blue, young, bright. The galaxies began to take shape. Some became what spirals, like our Milky Way, with winding arms of stars and gas swirling outward. These arms are not rigid structures. They are waves, patterns that move through the disk, triggering star formation like ripples stirring blossoms on a pond. Others became ellipticals, rounder, smoother, more massive. Their stars are older, redder. They formed from more chaotic beginnings, collisions that erase structure, leaving behind a quiet sea of starlight. Still others are irregular, galaxies without clear form, tugged and twisted by gravity, shaped by chance. And yet they too are cradles of stars, still growing, still glowing. At the heart of many galaxies lies a secret, a supermassive black hole. Born perhaps from the first giant stars or from the collapse of early dense gas clouds, these black holes grew alongside their host galaxies. As the galaxy gathered stars, the black hole fed on gas, growing ever more massive, millions, sometimes billions of times the mass of the Sun. These black holes are not just dead centers, they affect everything around them. When they feed, they release energy, sometimes enough to blow gas out of the galaxy's core, stopping star formation, shaping the galaxy's future. And yet they began, like everything else, in stillness. We often imagine galaxies as active, bustling places, full of supernovae, swirling gas, stars being born. And they are. But beneath the light, beneath the motion, there is always silence, always cold. In the outer reaches of galaxies, beyond the spiral arms, beyond the bulge, lies the halo, a vast, dark region filled with invisible matter, and sometimes scattered globular clusters, tight groups of ancient stars. These clusters are among the oldest things in the universe. They orbit their galaxies like quiet sentinels, shining softly, holding the memory of the beginning. And between the galaxies, there is space, wide, deep, cold. This intergalactic medium is not empty. It holds thin gas, drifting filaments of hydrogen and sometimes wandering stars. It holds the whispers of galactic collisions, the remnants of past encounters. It is the sea in which the islands of galaxies float. And even here in the seeming emptiness, gravity is working, drawing matter together, weaving the web we should web. Over time, galaxies that were once far apart grow closer. They pull on one another, they fall toward one another. Eventually they merge. Our own Milky Way is moving toward its neighbour, Andromeda. In 4 billion years they will meet. Not in an explosion, but in a slow blending. Their stars will pass by one another, rarely colliding, while their shapes distort, their gas clouds mix, their centres spiral inward, and in the end, a new galaxy will be born, perhaps an elliptical, larger and more luminous than either. All of it written in gravity's script, all of it beginning in coldness. Sometimes galaxies grow alone, sipping gas from their surroundings, forming stars in gentle rhythm. Other times they are transformed, struck by streams of gas or shocked by a nearby explosion. Their shapes change, their rhythms shift, they adapt, and all the while the cold cradles remain. In the hearts of galaxies, new stars still form, not from heat but from chill, not from pressure but from patience. The gas must cool for gravity to work, it must shed its energy, sink into stillness, and then, only then, can stars be born. Astronomers study this process in great detail. They look at these cooling flow, at these feedback loops, at these gas inflow and outflow. But at the centre of it all is the same truth. Stars are born from calm, and galaxies are born from stars. So even in the most distant galaxy, the brightest cluster, the most chaotic collision, it all began in cold, not in fire, but in frost, not in noise, but in night. This is how galaxies rise, not suddenly, not loudly, but slowly, carefully, from the stillest corners of space, cradled by gravity, shaped by silence, warmed by light that has not yet begun to shine. Now let us return slowly to the quiet cradle. Imagine the early universe again, wide, dark and cold, but this time see it not as emptiness, but as expectation, like a field waiting for rain, like soil sleeping before spring. Something was coming, and the cold was not the end, but the beginning. Every galaxy that shines today Every swirling city of stars once waited in that quiet. It waited for gravity, for patience, for time. Even now, the cold still shapes the cosmos. In the vast structures of the universe, the great war cosmic web, galaxies gather like dew along the threads. These filaments stretch for hundreds of millions of light years, formed not from fire, but from the slow pull of gravity on ancient matter. The galaxies that sparkle along these threads began, every one of them, in some cold hidden knot of gas. It is here that the universe stores its memory. The oldest light we can see of the cosmic microwave background is a whisper from a time before galaxies. It glows faintly in every direction, a soft, pale glow just 3 degrees above absolute zero. It tells us how smooth the universe once was, how still, how softly structured. But even in that smoothness, there were tiny bumps, the ripples gravity would use to begin its great gathering, the fingerprints of the cradle. Scientists map these ripples in exquisite detail. They see patterns in the noise, direction in the randomness. They trace the first seeds of structure, the places where galaxies would one day grow. And from those seeds came the light we see today. Galaxies are not just made of stars, they are made of silence. They are shaped by the things that do not shine, by dark matter, by empty space, by the cold. We often praise light, and rightly so. It brings colour, heat, vision. But without the cold, light has no contrast. Without shadow, brightness has no edge. Galaxies shine more beautifully because they rose from such dark beginnings. Inside every star is a furnace. Inside every galaxy, a million suns. But beyond the stars, between the galaxies, across the void, the cold still reigns. It is not cruel, it is not harsh. It is gentle. It gives space for gravity to work. It gives room for stars to be born. It gives silence so that the music of light can rise. And in that silence, galaxies continue to grow. Some are being born right now. Somewhere in a corner of the universe you'll never see, a gas cloud is collapsing. The temperature is dropping. Molecules are forming. And at the center, pressure is building. Soon a star will ignite. And around that star, others will follow. A new galaxy will take its first breath. No one will witness it. No one will hear it. But it will happen. And in another corner, an ancient galaxy is fading. Its stars are dimming. Its gas is gone. It no longer makes anything new. It will become a quiet shell drifting through time. This too is part of the cradle, because galaxies are not permanent. They are cycles. They are echoes. They rise, they shine, they rest. And when they're gone, their dust forms the next. Perhaps this is the deepest truth, that the cold never ends. It retreats, but it waits. It watches. It carries the quiet of the past into the future. The cradle does not break. It transforms. And in that transformation, everything is possible. When you look up at the night sky, when you see the arc of the Milky Way stretched across the dark, you're not just looking at stars. You're looking at survivors of silence. You're looking at warmth born from frost. Your own galaxy was once just a shadow, a small ripple in a sea of darkness. It waited. It gathered. And now it holds 100 billion suns. It holds Earth. It holds you, and you too began in quiet. In the calm warmth of a beginning not yet defined. Your life is not separate from this story. Your breath is made of the same atoms that cooled in those early clouds. Your bones hold calcium that came from stars that formed in those first cradles. You are what silence became. So the next time the world feels loud when time feels too fast, remember this. The galaxies did not rush. The stars did not shout. The light you see at night was born from waiting. Let the cold cradle hold you just for a while. Let the silence become your space. Let stillness shape your strength. And know that even in quiet, even in darkness, everything can begin. Time is not what we think it is. It does not tick at the same pace for all things. It does not flow like a river, always forward, always steady. In the vastness of the universe, time stretches and bends. It slows, it pulls, it dances. And in the spaces between galaxies, in the silent voids where almost nothing lives, time does something extraordinary. It rests. These are the cosmic voids, the deep regions of space where galaxies are scarce. They span hundreds of millions of light years, and yet they hold very little. A few faint galaxies, a breath of gas, a whisper of dust, and mostly nothing at all. But this nothing is not empty. It is spacious. It is calm. It is slow. Physicists tell us that time runs slightly faster in these voids than in crowded places like galaxies or black holes. The reason lies in gravity. Where gravity is strong, time slows down. Where gravity is weak, time flows more freely. In a black hole, time nearly stops. At the event horizon, it halts for everything but light. But in the great voids, where matter barely tugs at space, time stretches out like a yawn, long, unrushed. You could say the voids are the timekeepers of the cosmos, places where the clock runs more smoothly, less burdened by mass. Imagine this. 2 clocks, perfectly matched, set ticking at the same moment. One is placed on Earth, the other in a spacecraft drifting through a cosmic void. After millions of years, the clock in the void will be ahead, by seconds, perhaps minutes, depending on how deep the silence is. Not enough to change your life, but enough to remind you, time listens to gravity. And in this way, the universe becomes not one clock, but many. Each star, each planet, each particle follows its own rhythm, all governed by the curvature of space-time, and so time becomes relative, personal, local. This was Einstein's great gift to us, the understanding that time is not absolute, that it is woven into the shape of space itself, that every place, every moment feels time in its own way. And the voids, these great open hands between the galaxies, feel time in a way nothing else does. They hold the early echoes of the universe. They preserve the slow expansion. They let time unfold uninterrupted. When the universe was young, these voids were not so large. Matter was more evenly spread. But over time, gravity pulled matter into dense regions, into galaxies, clusters, filaments. And as those structures grew, the spaces between them emptied out. The voids grew, not in anger, not in force, but in letting go. They are like the spaces between notes in music, quiet, essential, shaping the melody by absence. And yet even here there is structure. Cosmologists map these voids. They trace the edges where galaxies begin. They measure the cold, faint radiation that lingers in the void, the leftovers of the Big Bang. And they find that these spaces are not random, they are shaped by the early ripples in the universe, by quantum fluctuations magnified by inflation, by the gentle push of dark energy. Each void is like a fingerprint, unique, soft-edged, ancient, and inside them something remarkable happens. Light moves more freely, signals stretch longer, gravity loses its grip. This allows us to study time itself. By comparing how light moves through voids versus clusters, scientists test the shape of the universe. They test theories of gravity. They look for signs that something more may be at work and something we have yet to name. But even without the math, even without the formulas, the idea remains profound. Time is not constant. It flows differently in different places. It responds to space, and in the voids, time flows like silk. If you could float in one of these regions, far from any galaxy, you would see almost nothing. A few faint stars, dim and scattered. No clouds, no noise, just the black stretching forever. And within that silence you would feel lighter, not in body, but in thought. Because without the weight of mass, time becomes gentle. It would carry you, not push you. You would feel time like a breeze, not a clock. And perhaps this is the deepest lesson of the void, that silence does not mean absence, that slowness is not emptiness, that even in the stillest places time keeps moving, but kindly. It is the universe breathing out. It is the pause before the next star is born, the soft beat between galaxies, the long exhale of space itself, and it tells us that we too are part of this rhythm, that our time is shaped not just by clocks and calendars, but by place, by gravity, by quiet. You are not separate from this dance. You live in time, yes, but time also lives in you. Let's drift further into time's quiet tapestry, the invisible thread that weaves through every atom, every star, every breath. Time is the one thing we cannot touch yet feel endlessly. It moves us, carries us, shapes us, and yet we rarely pause to ask where it goes or why it flows the way it does. In the far reaches of the universe, away from the brightness of stars and the spirals of galaxies, time becomes something else. It is thinner there, not in strength, but in presence. It stretches like morning fog across a frozen field, wide, slow, quiet. These are the cosmic voids, vast regions of space that are almost empty. Some span over 300 million light years across. If you were to travel through one, you might never see a single star. You would be surrounded by velvet darkness, a silence so complete that even light seems reluctant to pass through. And yet this emptiness is not without meaning. The universe is not evenly spread. It is laced with filaments, great rivers of galaxies and dark matter that snake across the sky. These filaments form walls and clusters, places where matter gathers like snow on branches. Between them lie the voids, the vast gaps where matter is rare, gravity is low, and time flows freely. Time here does not tick loudly. It hums, low, long, endless. Einstein's theory of general relativity tells us that gravity bends both space and time. The greater the mass, the more space curve, and the more time slows. This has been measured, tested, proven. GPS satellites must account for this. Time moves faster on the mountaintop than at sea level. It moves faster in orbit than on Earth. And in the voids, where gravity is barely present, time is unburdened. It flows like a dream, steady, weightless. This difference is small, barely measurable over a human lifetime. But on cosmic scales, over billions of years, it becomes significant. And in that difference we find one of the most delicate truths of the universe, that where there is less matter, time moves more generously. In dense regions, galaxies, stars, black holes, time thickens, like syrup. It slows. Not because something stops it, but because mass bends the path forward. Imagine time as a ribbon. Near a black hole, that ribbon twists and folds. Near Earth, it curves gently, and in the voids, it stretches in a straight line, uninterrupted. The difference is not in time's will, it has none, but in the landscape it moves through. Time is shaped by terrain, and so the universe does not age equally. Some parts have experienced more time than others. Some galaxies may be younger than they appear because they were born in deeper wells of gravity. Others may be older, stretched by silence. Even we on Earth live in a middle place, not in a void, not near a black hole. Our time flows gently, curving just enough to be interesting. But when we observe distant galaxies, we must account for these shifts. We must correct for the way light has bent, the way time has changed. Otherwise, we would misread the story. Astronomers use voids to understand the universe's expansion. They study the integrated Sachs-Wolf effect, and the way photons from the early universe gain or lose energy when they pass through changing gravitational fields. It is faint, subtle, difficult to detect, but it is real, and it confirms what the voids have always known. That time, even in Horn, leaves fingerprints. In these voids, where galaxies are few and far between, the fabric of space is smoother. There are no great masses to pull, no giant clusters to distort. And so time becomes a clean stream, flowing without eddy or whirl. Some have suggested that cosmic voids are like natural laboratories, places where we can test theories of gravity and expansion with fewer complications. Without the noise of stars and gas and dust, we can listen to the universe more clearly. It's as if the voids are spaces between thoughts, the pauses in a sentence that give it meaning, and yet they are not lifeless. Even in the voids, galaxies form. They are rare, often small, often blue, because they are still forming stars. These galaxies live quiet lives, untouched by the turbulence of clusters. They drift slowly through the darkness like lanterns on a calm sea, and inside them stars are born. Planets take shape. Perhaps even life begins in the slow rhythm of uninterrupted time. These galaxies do not roar, they do not collide, they do not blaze with activity, but they endure. They teach us that even in solitude, creation can bloom. And in these places, time becomes a cradle. We sometimes think of time as something that escapes us, as a thief, a fire, a race. But in the voids, we see a different image. Time as a caretaker, a watcher, a quiet companion. Here on Earth, we feel time because we move through it. We age, we change. But what if time also moves through us? What if it breathes with us? What if it listens? Your heartbeat follows time, yes, but so does your memory, your breath, your dreams. When you rest, when you slow, when you pause, you come closer to the pace of the voids. You become a timekeeper yourself, not rushing, not resisting, just moving forward gently with the pull of gravity behind you and the quiet of space ahead. Because even the fastest light, the brightest star began in a place where time once flowed slow, and every void remembers. Now let us settle into the stillness of time, into the softest corners of space where clocks go quiet and the stars seem to pause between their breaths. There is something sacred in the way the universe keeps time, not with ticking hands or numbered dials, but with light that travels and gravity that folds, with atoms that decay, stars that pulse, galaxies that stretch. Each one a different tempo, a unique heartbeat of the cosmos. And yet for all this rhythm, the time in the voids flows differently. It does not surge, it does not shout, it does not insist. It flows with the lightest touch, like fog rolling over a distant field, or shadows turning slowly as the moon glides across a lake. In these voids, time is unburdened. It is not held by matter, not slowed by motion, not tangled in stars. It is free. Cosmologists study these vast spaces to glimpse time at its purest. They run simulations, digital births of universes, where they track how voids grow, how their shapes change, how galaxies dance at their edges. What they find is harmony. The voids are not chaos. They are coherence. They stretch as the universe expands. They push galaxies outward. They grow gently, not by force, but by balance. And through them, time moves like breath through a sleeping room. We are part of that breath. Though we live in a galaxy surrounded by stars and pulled by mass, our time is touched by the same law. Every moment we live, every second that passes, is shaped by the same fabric, the one that curves through the voids, around black holes, across the arc of all creation. It means that our time is not small, it is not separate, it is cosmic. You carry in your body atoms formed billions of years ago, in stars that exploded before Earth was born. Those atoms moved through space, through gas clouds, through dust, through time. They were not rushed. They waited. And now they are part of you, moving again, thinking again, breathing again. You are made of time, and someday, long after your story is told, your atoms will move on. They will scatter, drift, find new shapes. They may fall to earth as rain. They may rise again as part of another life, or they may sail out into the darkness, joining the slow stream of the void. and time will hold them gently, patiently, just as it held galaxies before you, and just as it held light, just as it holds memory. The cosmic voids are not reminders of emptiness, they are reminders of grace. They are the spaces where everything slows down enough to be seen, understood, felt. In the void, light takes its time. In the void, gravity hums softly. In the void, the universe tells its secrets in whispers, not in storms. When we speak of time, we often speak of loss, but the void reminds us of something else, that time is not always taking, it is also giving. It gives silence, it gives room, it gives possibility. And in those long, slow stretches between galaxies, the stars wait for their light to arrive. Perhaps that's how we live too, not racing, but waiting, not falling behind, but becoming who we were meant to be in the time it takes. So when you next look at the sky, remember this: the stars do not hurry, the galaxies do not rush, even the universe expands slowly. And still everything happens. You're not late, you're not early, you're right on time. You're a timekeeper too, a quiet presence floating gently through a universe that remembers how to wait. If you could listen to the universe, truly listen, you might not hear silence. You might hear music, not in the way we know it, not notes on a scale or melodies played on strings, but something deeper, something older, a music made of vibration, of waves, of rhythm written into the bones of space itself. This is the music that binds the universe, a harmony of motion and energy, rising from the smallest atoms to the largest galaxies. It is everywhere, always playing, even when we do not hear it. In the beginning, the universe itself may have rung like a bell. After the Big Bang, the cosmos was hot and dense, filled with energy and light. It expanded rapidly, but not without sound. Not sound as we know it, travelling through air, but pressure waves moving through the dense plasma of the early universe. These waves left imprints, slight changes in temperature and density, we can still detect today in the cosmic microwave background, like ripples frozen into the sky, like the memory of a song we can no longer hear, but still see. And that was only the first note. Ever since, the universe has echoed with vibration. Every particle hums, every atom vibrates. The strings of energy that may make up the fabric of all things, as some theories suggest, resonate at different frequencies, giving rise to the particles and forces we see. Even the stars sing. Yes, stars have voices. Inside their hot, dense cores, energy moves outward, creating pressure waves that ripple through the layers. These vibrations cause the surface to pulse subtly, gently. Some stars expand and contract like breathing lungs. Others shimmer with oscillations too faint for any eye to see. Astronomers study this music through a science called their asteroseismology, the listening of stars. By watching how a star flickers, how it shakes, how it dances, we learn what lies within, its age, its kings, its soul. Each star has a different tone, a different song. Our own sun vibrates in millions of ways at once. Its surface ripples with waves, creating a low, complex hum that reverberates across space. These solar oscillations are not for our ears, but they are real. The sun sings, always has, always will, and around it the planets dance, caught in invisible harmonies of motion. The orbits of moons and planets follow rhythms that echo through time. Resonances emerge, patterns where orbits align, where cycles repeat. Jupiter's moons, Io, Europa and Ganymede, are locked in a 1-2-4 rhythm like beats in a measure. Their gravity tugs at each other, shaping their paths, creating tides beneath their surfaces. These are not random motions, they are choreography. And the music continues. Saturn's rings vibrate with the pull of its moons. Some patterns in the rings match the internal oscillations of the planet itself, like chords struck across an invisible instrument. The planet plays its rings like strings, and the rings respond. On Earth too, the music lives. The Earth vibrates, in quakes, in tides, in wind that moves through forests and over oceans. Even when we think it is still, the planet rings with subtle waves, always moving. And we, made of atoms, are part of that vibration. The molecules in your body resonate. The electrons around each atom do not sit still, they hum, they orbit. They shimmer in probability, in motion. On the smallest scales, you are music, and that music is felt. When two atoms vibrate at compatible frequencies, they can influence each other. They can bond, align, share energy. This is resonance. It is why bridges can collapse if too many feet march in rhythm. It is why a singer's voice can shatter glass. It is also why we feel connected to things and people whose rhythms match our own. Perhaps the universe knows this. Perhaps it has always known that harmony is not just beautiful, it is fundamental. Even black holes, the quietest places in space, are not silent. When they collide, they send out gravitational waves, ripples in space-time itself. These waves ring out like a bass note through the cosmos. In 2015, we heard one for the first time, not with ears, but with instruments so delicate they could catch the shifting length of a laser beam by less than the width of an atom. It was a note that began over 1 billion years ago, when two black holes spiraled together and merged. That note travelled through stars, through galaxies, through voids, and then through us. You didn't feel it, but it passed through your body all the same. This is the music that binds the universe, not because it is loud, but because it is everywhere. It connects particles and planets, and it shapes galaxies and thoughts, and it carries light and time and memory, and you're not separate from it. You're one of its notes, a brief vibration in a symphony too vast to comprehend, too quiet to disturb, and too beautiful to ever truly end. Let us drift further into the song, not with ears, but with understanding. Music, at its essence, is vibration arranged in time, and the universe is nothing if not an arrangement of vibrations, a structure of waves, resonances, frequencies, and harmonies echoing across scale and space, and even silence is part of the song. At the smallest scale, quantum physics tells us that particles are never truly still. Even in a perfect vacuum where no light shines and no matter stirs, there remains a hum, the zero-point energy. The universe cannot stop vibrating, it is always singing to itself. Physicists speak of quantum fields, endless oceans of potential that ripple with energy. What we call particles may be ripples in these fields, disturbances in a universal fabric, and what causes one field to ripple differently than another? Vibration, frequency, pitch. This is what string theory dares to suggest, that all matter, all energy, all forces may arise from tiny vibrating strings of energy, each tuned to a different frequency. One frequency makes a quark, another a photon, another perhaps gravity itself. If true, then the universe is not made of things, it is made of notes, and existence itself is music. But we don't need theoretical physics to see the harmony. We can watch it in nature. Crystals grow in patterns that resonate across their lattice structures. Snowflakes form in symmetrical designs shaped by temperature, humidity, and molecular rhythm. Seashells grow in spirals that echo Fibonacci numbers, mathematical harmonies embedded in matter. Plants unfurl in sequences of leaves and petals that follow the golden ratio, not because they choose beauty, but because growth, when left to its own rhythm, tends to harmony. Birds sing, whales call, trees sway in wind that carries invisible sound. Even our bodies are instruments of resonance. The cochlea in your inner ear is shaped like a spiral. Inside, tiny hair cells respond to different frequencies. Low tones at the wide end, high pitches near the tip. Your brain converts vibration into understanding, into music, into memory. Your heartbeat beats with rhythm. Your breath follows cadence. Your voice carries pitch, tone, resonance. And when you speak to someone or laugh or sing, you are sharing waves. You are shaping the air with vibration. You are touching another person, not with matter, but with motion. Even thought may be vibration. The brain hums with electric pulses, neurons firing in patterns, waves of activity sweeping across your mind. We call them brain waves, and they come in types: alpha, beta, delta, theta, each linked to different states of awareness. Your brain in sleep vibrates differently than when you're awake. Your brain in peace sings differently than when in fear. And these vibrations are not isolated. They can influence and be influenced by the vibrations around them. This is resonance. When two frequencies align, energy is exchanged more easily. Systems sync up. Pendulums swinging near one another will begin to swing together. Fireflies blinking in darkness will eventually match rhythms. Metronomes placed on a shared surface will fall into harmony. It is as though the universe prefers cooperation, as though it seeks balance, as though it remembers that all things were once one song. Resonance is not just in science, it is in emotion. A poem read aloud can stir tears, not from the meaning of the words, but from the cadence, the rhythm, the pattern. A song can bring joy or sorrow in seconds, even when the lyrics are unknown. Why? Because vibration bypasses thought. It goes straight to the body, to the memory of being part of something larger. And perhaps this is what the universe is doing, reminding us that we are not separate notes, but chords, that we belong to melodies we cannot hear, but still feel. In deep space, when galaxies collide, they do not simply crash. Their stars pass through one another with minimal contact, but their gravitational fields stir and waves ripple through their structure. Spirals twist, new stars form, shapes change, and from this cosmic duet a new galaxy is born. Not destruction, not silence, but transformation. One song ending and another beginning. This happens on every scale. On Earth, tectonic plates vibrate under pressure. Sometimes they snap, an earthquake, a violent shudder, but more often they glide slowly, creating mountains, shifting continents, changing weather and climate over eons. Even there, beneath the seeming stillness, the planet sings. Ancient traditions have long believed that the world is music. In India, the concept of Nada Brahma teaches that the universe is sound, that everything is vibration. In Greek philosophy, the music of the spheres imagined that the planets, in their motions, produce cosmic harmony, a silent music that orders the cosmos. We may now know that the planets do not produce literal sounds in vacuum, but their movements, their gravities, their rhythms shape everything. They shape tides, they shape seasons, they shape the balance that allows life. And so we return again and again to vibration, to waves in light, to waves in matter, to waves in time, gravitational waves, sound waves, electromagnetic waves, brain waves, ocean waves, heartbeats. The universe is not still. It never was. It dances. And you, just by being, are dancing too. You're made of vibrating particles. You speak in rhythm, you move in time, you feel when frequencies align. And maybe that's what joy is, when something inside you recognizes the music outside you, when your breath falls into step with the world, when your heart vibrates with something true. This is the music that binds the universe, not in grand performance, not in crescendos, but in subtle, steady harmony. It is the rhythm of stars being born, the hum of atoms in motion, the curve of light through space, and it plays on, even in the spaces between songs, even in the pauses between thoughts, even now. Now let us come to rest, not in silence but in stillness, in that soft place between sound and breath where the deepest music lives. All through the universe something is moving, something is singing, something is resonating in ways too vast for our ears and too subtle for our instruments. Yet if we quiet ourselves, not just our voices but our minds, we can almost feel it. It's the way the trees sway with the wind, the way your heart responds to a lullaby, the way a sunset feels like a held note slowly fading. There is music everywhere, in colours, in cycles, in the softest rhythms of existence. Even the orbits of stars around the centres of galaxies follow mathematical harmonies. Some stars move in locked synchrony, tracing paths that echo golden ratios, repeating loops, sacred geometries. These are not accidents. They are expressions of balance, of resonance. And resonance is everywhere. When a child laughs and another joins in, it is resonance. When you hear a song and it unlocks a memory, it is resonance. When the moon rises and something inside you pauses, watches, wonders, it is resonance. It doesn't need to be explained to be true, and the universe does not ask for understanding, only for awareness. Across the cosmos, we see patterns emerge again and again. Spirals, waves, shells, echoes, each one a whisper of motion that came before. Galaxies form spirals because of angular momentum, but they hold their shape because gravity finds balance in that spiral. Stars cluster not randomly, but in distributions that reveal ancient vibrations in the galactic disk. Planets form in disks of gas that ripple and oscillate, and those ripples guide dust into rings, into pebbles, into worlds. The music never stops, it just changes form. In 2020, astronomers discovered that even quasars, the bright ancient hearts of active galaxies, flicker with regular pulses, sometimes over years, signals from billions of light years away repeating, a slow rhythm in the heart of chaos. And here on Earth, we hum in kind. Our culture has always known, even before science could explain it. We built drums before we built homes. We sang before we wrote. Our ancestors mapped the stars and sang their names, not to own them, but to remember we belong to them. Music is the bridge between thought and emotion, and so is the universe. It holds meaning in motion, truth in tone, and maybe, just maybe, that's what we are. Not matter, not biology, but music. You reading this now are not a single sound, you are a symphony and a layered chord, and a harmony of every cell, every memory, every possibility. And when you move through the world and speaking, walking, loving, you add to the music. You shape the space around you with your rhythm. You bring resonance where there was only quiet. And even after you're gone, the vibration remains. Just like the stars, just like the light, just like the galaxies. What we call death may be a modulation, a soft key change, a quieter tempo. But the vibration does not stop. Energy cannot be destroyed, it can only change. Your breath may become the wind, your body, the soil, your memories, the pulse in another's chest when they remember you. And the universe continues to sing, long after the stars burn out, long after the galaxies drift apart. Even when all matter fades, what may remain is vibration. Tiny fluctuations in the vacuum, waves in quantum fields, the softest note in the darkest hall. Some physicists believe the universe may end not with a bang, but a fade, a slow endless expansion into cool nothingness. But even then, in that great hush, the music might linger, not as a song to be heard, but as a pattern, a presence, a possibility. And so, as we come to the close of this journey, through dust, through gravity, through stars and silence, we find ourselves not alone, but in harmony. You are never outside the song, you are a verse in it. You are the pause between notes. You are the moment where one vibration becomes another. So breathe now and feel it. Feel the pulse in your chest. Feel the rhythm of your thoughts. Feel the music in the wind, in the moonlight, in the spaces no one notices. And know this, you are not made of stars. You are made of their song, and the universe, vast, old, infinite, has been singing you all along.